A very good morning to all of you. Say good morning. Good morning. Yes. Such a great occasion that we are having the 75th Independence Day just 2 days away from now, 3 days. And we are also celebrating the 70th anniversary of BSS journey. We are also celebrating the International Youth Day, which is also August 12th. So all these three require me to extend our warm greetings to each one of you. Let us give a big round of applause for your presence. Dr. Anil Sahasrabudhe, Chairman AICT, Dr. K.K. Dwivedi, IAS, Joint Secretary of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. We have Sri M.M. Hassan, Sri B.S. Balachandran, the Chairman of BSS, Central BSS, Mr. Zach Moizon, the Vice Chairman of BSS, J.R. Srikumar, the Director General of BSS, and each one of you who have come from various parts of India today to be part of this very important occasion, a get-together of all the people who have worked hard to make this movement so important for the country's national development. So I want to touch upon that we are so delighted with the presence of policymakers in this particular forum, because if you look at the country is moving towards convergence of general education, vocational education, and technical education. And the architect of technical education reforms, Dr. Anil Sahasrabudhe is here, which gives us the feeling that we are seeing a great moment of significance for the people who are associated with BSS, because you have been all part of various educational initiatives. And from him, we are going to hear what he thinks of the way forward for all the people who are associated with education. I had the occasion to call on Dr. K.K. Dwivedi ji at his office, and in few minutes, the kind of positivity which he giving suggestions for BSS to take forward. For example, he told me that it is possible for you to train people for international mobility. Take up Japanese language training, for example. There is so much of potential. He said also reach the vulnerable and disadvantaged sections of the society. He also said that we can help you to have PMKVY for specialized areas. So Dr. Dwivedi opened a whole new chapter of importance to BSS to take it forward. So he is also here. And as you know, both his secretary, Rajesh Agarwal ji, was supposed to be also here. He had, COVID in the last couple of days, and we are very sorry to hear that. But despite that, he had a conversation with the Joint Secretary, and he was kind enough to entrust this whole conversation to be taken forward. So thank you, Rajesh Agarwal ji, for your initiative for BSS journey forward. Sri M.M. Hassan has been a pillar of strength for BSS over the years. And his counsel and his understanding of Kerala and neighboring states and from the national level, I think have contributed to the development of BSS for a long time. And we are very thankful to Mr. Hassan for being here today. And the gentlemen who are leading this forward, the management team, are really capable people, committed people, devoted people. And each one of you in different parts of India are serving the nation in this process of bringing the youth, converting the demographic advantage to a demographic dividend. So having said this, I'm going to just say a few ideas which we are thinking about in terms of BSS journey forward. So let me talk about what is new, which is happening in terms of BSS. Why we are having this kind of a get-together on the 70th anniversary. We believe that the organization's concept, as Chairman Mr. Balachandran says, was almost 117 years old concept. However, 72 years, 70 years have gone by, after having formed the organization. But in terms of its conceptual clarity, it has been there for more than 117 years. But every organization undergoes evolution. As human beings, we all undergo change. Organizations also undergo change. There were different periods of time in the history of BSS where different activities got predominance. But why is it that we are now talking more about vocational education? Vocational education is not new to BSS. It has been there for the last 4 decades. In fact, the government of India, as I was talking to our research colleague, Dr. Madhuri, from 1847 onwards, all the papers published by different organizations and reports have always talked about vocational education. However, the word skill was not discussed in the policy framework. The evolution from vocational education to focusing on skills came about in 2009, when the first National Skill Development Policy was announced. And then NSDC was set up, National Skill Development Agency was set up. Taking off from there, the new government in 2014 made a leap forward. They set up for the first time a Ministry for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. This requires a big clap, and that is what Mr. Dwivedi represents. Never in the history of our history, there has been a Ministry for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Why is it being set up? Why was it set up? We all say that we have 130 billion people in the country, 130 crores of people in the country, but the population of youth is almost 450 million. No other country has this kind of a youth population. 15 to 29 aged youth in this country with an average age of 29 is a very different ballgame from all other countries. We have a young population. But this youth-oriented countries, the pattern is not going to last forever. There is a study by the United Nations Population Fund which says that from 2005 to 2050 is this golden period of India where youth will come to the prominence in terms of the number from 15 to 29 years old. And if you take the larger working population, it can be from 15 to 59. But I'm just taking the youth population. But it also says from 2035, this entire pyramidal structure will become more like a kite, as it happened in Japan. Aged society will start more and more. It may touch 20-25%, and the youth population will start tapering down from 2035. So that means that we have a 13-year window to really put in skill efforts into every part of the world, every part of the country. And through that, we reach also every part of the world, because Europe has graying population. They have 2 problems, degreening and graying. Degreening is childbirth coming down. Graying is the existing population becoming very old. They are not working population anymore. So they need people, like in Japan, they want people from India because it is an aging country. So with that kind of an understanding, when you look at what we are trying to do in the BSS journey from this 2022 to 2030, let us say, is to take a new understanding of the challenges in this country and look at 2 words in your mind. One word is very much associated to our 75th year of independence. Mahatma Gandhi had 4 founding tenets. One was truth, the other was non-violence, third was Sarvodaya, and the last was Satyagraha. The Sarvodaya said that upliftment of all to the people, that is universal upliftment. Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji and others later took one part of that, which is called Antyodaya, which is towards the last person you should be able to take it forward. This is actually an offshoot of Sarvodaya itself. So Sarvodaya and Antyodaya together envisage a society which is already contained in our constitution, which is economic and social justice, economic development and social justice. So if you take this Antyodaya as a principle, BSS is trying to look at how we can build 2 parts to it to make focus. One part is the school dropouts. If you look at the 5th standard, 9th standard, 10th standard dropouts of our country, you will be surprised to see the staggering numbers. Something like 24%, even by a study which was published by ILO, says that they are dropouts from higher secondary level. But if you take the 5th standard, 9th standard dropout, though it is coming down, it is still staggering. And the other part is, which is called NEET, N-E-E-T. What is the full form? Not in education, not in employment, not in training. So what are they doing then? They are not in education, they are not pursuing any education, they are not doing any training, and they are not in employment. 62% of our youth can be categorized into this category. And the Human Development Report, published in 2020, had placed India at 129th rank out of 162 countries, telling that only 21% of the people who are in the working population have any kind of formal professional skill training. That means a country, if it has to progress, it is a collective of knowledge plus skills of that population. We have large population, but that population, if you do not empower them with skills, then it becomes a population which is like a non-performing asset. And more is the problem with women. The women labor participation ratio has come down from 21-22% to something like 15-16% because of the COVID. Now, in a country, any country you take, Korea, Japan, Cambodia, Vietnam, Bangladesh, the progress came when the participation of women in the labor went up to almost 50-60%. In Korea, it is 96%. Our women's participation in labor force has to be pushed up. So you have two focus areas which I told you. The Antyodaya concept of reaching the last person, which was Gandhiji's talisman. He said that look at the last poor person whom you met and take all the decisions. That is what he said, to wipe the tears of the last man. If you take that part as one overarching concept and then put this NEET and dropouts into that concept and the backwardness of women's labor participation, then you get a new concept, which is what we call as BASE. That is what Dwivedi Saab is going to launch today, which is the Bharat Antyodaya Skill Education, through which we want to reach all parts. It's a completely, mission-driven approach, not necessarily that, somebody has to force you. It's a voluntary participation of people to take the message to wherever the youth are and reach them with skills. Take the example of handloom and handicrafts. Handloom has about 4,379 clusters. Handicrafts is about 590 clusters. Other traditional industries has also a large number of clusters. So we have about 6,78,000 villages in the country. The government has brought in Antyodaya in 2017-18 as part of the Rural Development Ministry to make a convergent program to reach every panchayat. And I understand that only 14,000 panchayats are still left. Other than that, the coverage has been phenomenal in the last few years. So there is certainly an Antyodaya concept working, but that has been mostly to reach rations or give a Nariga type of work and wages. But what we are telling is that the simple story, give a man a fish, he will feed for one day. But if you teach him to catch fish, you are feeding him for lifetime. So the gap which we found in the rural areas is that they are getting rations, they are getting a lot of other facilities from the government, but the skill gap is keeping them poor for a long time. So unless you equip them with the skills and improve their productivity and competencies on various fields, and including in the handloom and handicrafts and other traditional industries, which can be reformed, which was the second ring of agriculture. The concentric ring, if you take India's economy, in the middle is agriculture. It's about 50%, 55% of the population involved in agriculture. But the outer ring was the rural socio-economic clusters of handloom, handicrafts, coir, various types of things across India. But we allowed that ring to disintegrate, and languishing skills and disappearing skills have cost us a lot. To regain them is nearly impossible, whether it's Patola from Patan, or from Aligarh locks, or Anjar knives, or Firozabad bangles, or Moradabad metals. You name it, it goes on and on. Refer to Handmade in India, made by NID when I was the director. We brought in more than 600 clusters. We examined and made a directory. Why can't we, through the BASE program, also reach the craft clusters? So this is a revolution to a disruptive thinking, which is being brought about through this base concept. And we are very delighted. Government is very interested that everybody comes together to work. So it is not necessarily that only the government organizations have to work for this. We are all part and parcel of this movement. And Dwivedi Sahab is here to tell you more how he envisages the new skill hub with the Secretary, Government of India, and Dwivedi Sahab have brought in from January this year. Is a beacon of hope of convergence. And we would like to work very closely with the skill hubs which are envisaged by the government. The second point is about BSS, which is going to be launched by Dr. Anil Sahasrabudhe, the chairman of AICT. What is BSS? There is a lot of talk about what the youth should do. But there was a youth declaration in Abu Dhabi in 2017 by 300 youth who assembled and created a roadmap of what youth want. So the problem is that most often we prescribe what the youth should get, but we don't ask enough what you want. So we are focusing in BSS to ask the people what they want and bring in their innate creativity to take forth with the skills so that they can develop new ideas. So BSS will look at skill innovation. From supply-driven skilling to demand-driven skilling, which is industry-driven, and we were supposed to have a speaker earlier, but he was also stricken by COVID. So from supply-driven, which is the government's program taking the lowest denominator courses of 300, 400 hours, to demand-driven, what the industry wants, to innovation-driven transformation, is what BSS could get involved in. And we are very delighted, an eminent world-class researcher like Dr. Anil Sahasrabudhe, who is here with us today, is going to unveil our concept paper. I can't say that we have set up, we have just taken the first steps forward, but we have also other researchers joining hands with us, and we will take it forward. So this is the second, and to conclude, I would say that the entire world of skills is just opening up. The World Economic Forum has created a reskilling platform where I think 16 countries have joined. India has also joined recently for certain sectors. World Skills International, which was set up post-Second World War by Europe because of the acute shortage of skills in Europe. We have participated since 2007, the government of India and the youth from here. The only medal which we have so far won, the gold medal, is for water technology. Do you mean to say that in jewelry, in pastry making, in bricklaying, in more than 52 skills on which they make competitions, can't India, like the Commonwealth Games where they have performed so well, can't they win more medals? Are we so poor in skills? I have personally gone to Sao Paulo, I've gone to Abu Dhabi, I've gone to Kazan in Russia for the world skills. Our students are doing well in those competitions, but the world standards have gone up so much. The skilling requires now intensive training. Just take the example of fashion technology. I was a founding chairperson of fashion management with New Delhi. I was very shocked that we had a 100-point difference in fashion technology competition between China, Switzerland, and other countries. It is now slowly catching up. But you imagine the world is having so much of skills. I have seen people sitting and finishing a whole wall in less than a couple of hours with the precision which you will expect for tile fixing. So these competitions in Sao Paulo, 500,000 students were brought by the government for children to see what this arena is about, how the competitions are taking place. That is what is called awareness creation of skills. So we have a long way to go, and I believe BSS is a people's movement. The strength of BSS is about participation of people without any force or coercion. So if they join, anything can be achieved. And you are all here, and you will take this message forward. You are most welcome to join us in this journey. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.